Hello and welcome to Candida Cleanser Group Cleanse. Today is day 5, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is Aga Postawska. I'm the holistic health coach here with Candida Cleanser, guiding this 45-day protocol. And today I have a special guest with me today, Amanda Biccum. She's a nutritional therapist, also a health coach, healthy living coach, really focused on mindfulness, yoga, and something we call bio-individuality. For those of you who don't know what this means, this is about basically customizing your food, your diet, your healing program to you, because what works for someone else is not going to work for you. And this crazy world of nutrition, and especially cleansing Candida, is very confusing. There's so much contradicting information out there. It's really frustrating. So today we just wanted to talk about how to listen to your body to customize this plan for you. So Amanda Biccum, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you started with this journey, and a little bit about your work.
Awesome. I would love to. First of all, thank you for having me. Right now I'm actually, I travel a lot. So I'm in Nicaragua, and we just had a really, really big storm. So I'm really glad that the internet is working okay. And I'm changing locations right now as we speak. But basically what I do is I work with people, like Aga mentioned, to help them understand their bio-individuality. One of the questions that I get probably asked the most is, what are the right foods to eat? Nutrition is so confusing that people just want to know, tell me what to eat and I'll eat it, right? I wish it was that simple, but like as Aga said, it's completely dependent on your own personal journey. I work with body, mind, and spirit. So there's a lot of things that happen, maybe even past traumas, or our habits are related to different aspects of our eating habits, which are showing up in our body. And so bio-individuality is really helping people understand what foods serve your body is going to be different than what serves your neighbor. And so I pretty much just work on clients helping them to understand what foods serve their body best.
Mm-hmm. And so one of the processes of doing this is an elimination diet. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, elimination diets. So I'll give a little bit of my own kind of personal story. I started out exploring nutrition about 6 years ago, but I didn't really get into the holistic side of it until about 3 years ago. And I was one of those people that loved bread, right? Like, I don't know who else here loves bread, but I absolutely loved bread. Yeah, right. And so I was convinced that my post-yoga best snack, best fuel was peanut butter and toast, maybe a little bit of banana if I was feeling like I got a really good workout in. Well, lo and behold, of course, if I'm going to have any of my clients do anything, I'm going to try it myself. So this is when I first tried, an elimination diet. And the first things to go, of course, the top inflammatory foods, 2 of them at least, we're going to discover the others later, are gluten and dairy. So I was like, if I'm going to do this for my clients and I need to do it for myself. So I took out gluten and dairy. And in the beginning, I didn't notice much of a difference, right? I had maybe a little bit more energy, but I was like, I don't really think I'm that allergic. I think this whole gluten thing, it's just a phase. It's just a fad. What I didn't realize is that when I put it back into my diet, my entire body rejected it. I got bloated instantly. My skin, a couple days later, I started getting acne a couple days later. And then I was tired again. So it's really interesting. An elimination diet helps you remove things that are causing inflammation in your body. Our bodies are human coping mechanisms. So whatever we put into our body's going to try to work through as much as we can. This is why alcoholics can drink for years and years and years and seem to not have very many problems. But if you remove this from your diet and then you clean up your body system so it's no longer on this overdrive, I gotta fight, and then you introduce it back to your body, that's when you really start to realize, oh, wow, I had no idea that I had this brain fog or this bloatedness. And I was shocked. I was like, I must have been bloated my entire life because, wow, I can't believe that this is the reaction that I'm having. So I think elimination diets are incredibly powerful for helping people work and understand their own bio-individuality.
That's right. It's like we're used to these foods. These are normal foods in our diet all the time from when we were young. I was growing up on Nutella, waffles, bread, sugar, like all those just that junk food snacks aisle basically. And you begin to take on your symptoms as normal. And that's your baseline. Your baseline is waking up, looking in the mirror and going, ugh, I hate how my body looks. And just like dissecting your face and seeing these pimples and then seeing your bags under your eyes. And you're like, oh, I guess that's what concealer is for, right? When we're sold these things to keep patching ourselves up so we can like ourselves, but inside is just this self-loathing that's actually being caused by these foods, by the inflammation. Inflammation in the gut also causes inflammation in the skin and inflammation in the brain. It's connected. It's on an axis, the gut, skin, brain axis. If we have inflammation, it's going to manifest in many different ways. For some people, it's depression. Some, like yourself, it's the skin, bloating, digestion. So I find that when we remove these foods after how many years? 20, 30, some people 40 years of eating garbage. When we remove these foods, the body is finally being able to breathe and things are able to clear out and we get a new baseline. All of a sudden we wake up and we want to go for a run and you look and you're like, hey, like you're looking good today. I don't know what it is about you. Like you're all of a sudden, feeling better about yourself. And then when you do introduce those foods, it's like poof, right away, it does not work anymore.
Absolutely. And that's something too that I think you really hit the nail on the head there is, and think about even the healthy foods that we have today. We combine so many different foods in one meal. Like, let's say you go out to a healthy restaurant and you have like your main, and then you have maybe 2 different sides. And each of these things have, they have grains, they have nuts, they have different kinds of fruits, they have different kinds of, people don't understand that. You can be allergic to there's over 100 different foods that are tested, and you can be allergic to any of these so-called healthy foods. And if we're constantly putting so many different foods into our body at one time, number one, it's hard to digest. And number two, it's hard to identify what it is that's actually causing these symptoms. And it's amazing what happens when you begin to simplify and eliminate, and then you're like, wow, okay, no, this does not work for my body, And I always try to tell people, no matter how good you feel, I had no idea. I thought I felt great. I had no idea that I could wake up at 5 a.m. Bing, I'm ready to go. I could do anything,
Mm-hmm. So I think also the thing to help you guys understand is an elimination diet helps you navigate through this nutritional world so you can make your own choices. There's a lot of going on in the Facebook group. I see, people asking, can I eat flax? Can I eat chia? Can I eat a banana? And there's so many questions about these healthy foods, right? These foods are healthy. Some people will recommend them. Some will say, I completely ditched the GAPS diet and I did fruit and it worked and I started feeling better. Other people are, I cannot do bananas. I'm on, just green juice and it's working. And other people, are totally focused on GAPS, and it's understanding how to listen to your body and to remove the inflammation, because as long as we're eating something that's inflammatory, it could be the healthiest food, right? It could be, for example, nuts are a big thing, nut butters, right? Healthy, great fats, help you feel full. If you're on the Candida cleanser, nut butters we recommend to take with Candida cleanser because you need fat to pull in the lufeneron. But, something like nuts can have mold toxins on there. And if you have already a compromised immune system and you incorporate a mold toxin, all of a sudden your immune system goes crazy, inflammation goes through the roof, and no healing can take place. When your body is in fight or flight, it is not focusing on repairing tissue. It is not focusing on detoxing the body. It is focusing on fighting the fight. So that is one of the hugest benefits of an elimination diet, is to remove all those invaders, all those confusing, conflicting information you're giving your body. If you're constantly eating food that's causing an immune reaction, that's not food for you anymore. That's poison.
Absolutely. I think maybe talking a little bit about how people would begin this process of this elimination diet, right? So it's a perfect way to kind of segue in. So you're like, okay, great. Yes, I want to understand my body, right? Who doesn't want to understand their bodies? I think one of the things that I do with my clients that has really helped a lot is y'all are on this Candida cleanser. You're already cleansing your body a lot. You're getting rid of a lot of information just with the protocol that you're doing. So this is a great beginning, because the whole thing is like, great, you cleansed your Candida. Now you're feeling great. But if you go back to your old habits, guess what? It's going to come right back. And this is kind of a problem with the medical world today is we give you a pill or we give you something to, eliminate it or subdue the symptoms. And then all of a sudden you continue doing what you're doing and you're back to where you are. So something now that you're kind of getting a system reset, something that you can do is, I think, finding a food journal, right? Doing a food diary and like really working on, okay, I ate this today. And even while you're on the Candida cleanse, I ate this today. Am I feeling this? Am I feeling that? How am I feeling mentally, physically, emotionally? Like that's a great way to begin to understand how to eliminate certain foods and how your body is responding with certain foods.
Mm-hmm. So we did start a symptom tracker and symptom journal on day one. So if you got that journal and you wrote down your symptoms, this is a perfect time to now also begin to document what foods you're eating and eliminate, if you haven't already. I know a lot of you are already on something like the GAPS diet or a low carb diet, kind of paleo-ish style, but we just want to explain the basic elimination diet. So what are our 5 top allergens? We have dairy, gluten, corn, sugar, and eggs, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Soy as well. So soy is something that it's controversial. Of course, everything is in the nutrition world, but the reason why soy is a big one now, as well as corn, is because it's genetically modified. Mm-hmm. And I think the hardest one that I'm finding in my group, I have a Facebook group online, is eggs. Like a lot of people, it's not necessarily dairy, but they're struggling with. They're like, but eggs are so healthy. And so was milk once upon a time, and so was wheat once upon a time, and these foods in their natural whole state, they were healthy. But we have to look at what we're doing to genetically modify these foods, to change the genetic DNA of the foods, which is absolutely affecting us and creating a lot of alarm in our own bodies.
Yeah, and so one of my theories of why we have so many allergies today is because ever since we hybridized the wheat grain, gluten has, there's like, I don't have the stats on me right now, but like there's way more gluten in this just really glutinous, gelatinous kind of dough. It's what allows you to make pizza and croissants and make it gooey. Ancient grains were not, you couldn't make pizza out of them. They were thick, hard, rock, bread, like back in you watch like Game of Thrones or something like that kind of bread. But what happens is there's so much, so many of the proteins have mutated that the body doesn't recognize them, and they react differently in our body. And something in gluten triggers a certain protein in our gut lining called zonulin. And it's basically the gatekeeper of our tight junction. So if you can imagine, like our gut being like what's it called? The cheesecloth. But what happens is when you eat wheat, it opens up the little holes and turns them into like fishnet stockings. And all of a sudden we have these big gaping holes for food to come in. So every time you eat, say, a pizza, what's in pizza? Eggs, cheese. What are the toppings? So if we're not properly digesting that food, zonulin gets triggered by the gluten, it opens up, and next thing you know, we have egg proteins, we have milk proteins, we have cheese proteins flowing into our blood and causing an allergic reaction. So everything you eat, imagine everything that you've eaten bread with before in your life. Croissants, coffee. There's a lot of people who actually have a coffee intolerance because of what do you eat in the morning? A bagel and a coffee. Mm-hmm. So that's my little theory of why all of a sudden, on top of GMO, yes, corn and soy, just don't even eat the GMO stuff anymore. That stuff totally ruins you on your DNA level. It causes DNA mutations within your body that will cause, they don't even know what kind of side effects now, but none of it looks good. I highly recommend you watch Seeds of Death. It's a free documentary online about GMOs, and it is terrifying. If you really want to know the truth, it'll scare you.
Definitely. I had read some research on what you were talking about with the grains. It used to be the Aircorn, it's like EIRKORN was the original wheat structure. And there was about 3% gluten, which is like glutenin and gliadin mix. It's a double protein. And nowadays it's up to about 20%. And the reason they did that was because, of course, profits over people. It used to be long amber waves of grain. Well, when a storm comes or a big wind game comes or something comes, basically the crop gets destroyed halfway. So they shrunk the grain, increase the amount of actual wheat that you get from the grain, and that's now today why we kind of struggle. As well as glyphosate is sprayed on almost all of the wheat crops right before it's harvested. And as you know, you don't want to wash wheat because you need to be dry in order to process it. So that's another kind of theory that is out there on the food allergy with wheat.
And glyphosate, for those of you who are not familiar, is a terrible pesticide that makes the insides of an insect's stomach explode. So basically like leaky gut. And all the animal studies show every, animal that eats GMO corn or soy or barley or whatever they're doing gets leaky gut. And then all the symptoms that we get from leaky gut, this animal gets. It becomes all its liver and detox pathways become totally messed up, becomes extremely sick. Its endocrine system totally is destroyed. It can't reproduce. It's infertile. It's just it's just a horrific thing. So you never want to be eating those kind of grains. You never want to be eating animals that eat those grains. So please do not buy conventional meat. It's not good for our planet. It's not good for sustainability. It's not humane. It's not good for you. It's just pure evil. That's my rant.
All right, what do we have next on the list so that we can continue to help you guys out as you're on your journey?
Yes, so elimination diet I just want to go quickly over the standard that you would do. Say you go see a naturopath or a functional medicine doctor, they would usually put you on 21 days of an elimination diet, and you can choose to do all the foods at once, eliminate nightshades and citrus and eggs, but it can be a little bit intimidating and hard if that is what your diet is full of. But you eliminate for 21 days, and at 21 days, constantly you're journaling every single day how you're feeling, any kind of improvements. And at day 21, you can take that food. So say I eliminated eggs, and I introduce it back into my diet, and I have eggs for breakfast, I have eggs in the afternoon, I have some eggs for dinner, and I do that for 3 days. And that is like to really see how your body reacts. And then you wait about a week to see if anything shifts in your day-to-day life. Maybe you get some acne, maybe you become bloated, and that'll be a sign to you that this food is causing an allergic reaction, it's causing an immune reaction, it's not good. Sometimes there is delayed reactions. You can eat something introduce it one day, and then 5 days later, you can get the skin rash or you can become depressed. So this is why journaling is so important, because you can flip back and say, what did I change last week? Oh, I had that piece of cheese. That's what it was.
Absolutely. And there's something so there's two different responses. Most people know of the first response, which is an IgE response, which is an immediate, I have a peanut allergy and my throat swells up, or I get hives or whatever. But what she's talking about here is the IgG response, which can happen up to 72 hours later. So that's definitely why journaling and noting that, like, even something as anger or frustration or irritability, that's a symptom as well. And that's, again, going back to bio-individuality, everybody's going to react to these foods a lot differently.
Mm-hmm.
Something too, if eggs and dairy and gluten and soy and corn, you're just like, oh my God, that's everything I eat. Something I usually have people start with, depending on where they're at on their health journey, is just eliminating packaged processed foods. I mean, if you go into your cupboard right now, even your health products, turn any health product you have over, read the ingredients. If you cannot pronounce it, do not be putting it into your body. A lot of, unfortunately, the medical world as well as the food world today is putting profits before people. And if you cannot pronounce it, if you don't know what it is, do you think your body's going to know what it is? Chances are it's not. And there's more toxins and there's more chemicals and there's food colorings and all these different additives and preservatives. If something is going to last on your shelf for, 3 years, unless it's like a bean or something or a fermented food, you shouldn't be eating it. And so taking out all packaged processed foods is a great first step to help begin to not only alleviate your symptoms, but begin to eliminate the food that doesn't serve you.
And so this is where the GAPS diet comes in. And GAPS diet is the ultimate elimination diet, because you start at square one, where you're only eating broths and soups and really mushy vegetables, and you introduce everything one by one. And there's, I believe, 6 intro stages, and then you go into the full GAPS diet. So this is maybe something you guys are playing around with now, because in the Facebook group, that is the protocol we recommend. And this is where it's also really confusing, because there's so many people in different stages of it. Some people, you know, they can do a sweet potato. Other people, their gut can't handle a sweet potato yet. And this is where I really encourage you to not so much ask for questions for what to eat out here. Maybe I get ideas for food and for meals, but really tune into yourself and your symptoms when you're going through the GAPS protocol, to see if you're ready to move on to the next stage, to see if you're ready to introduce a new food. Because when our gut is leaky, even something like lettuce can aggravate our gut lining. For me right now, coming back from India and starting this healing protocol, digesting raw greens is really difficult for me, and seeds too. I notice I'll you know, make a habit of looking into the toilet. What are you looking at? You know, is that seeds from last night? Is that a piece of quinoa? Or, you know, what's in there? Like, for the longest time, I'm like, I'm just, look at all these worms, and I'm so, my worms are coming out. I'm doing this parasite cleanse, and oh no, that's just like fiber from my asparagus. Okay, makes sense. This gives me a clue that I'm not producing the digestive enzymes in my gut. I don't have the gut bacteria right now to digest my food. And so it's, when you're eating raw greens especially, they'll just cause a lot of inflammation as they just rip apart your intestinal lining because they're not properly digesting.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So those of you, this is not a coffee, but anyone who's asking, this is my Shaga tea bulletproof. So it's Shaga tea with like vanilla and cardamom, lots of superfoods, a raw egg. Yeah, vanilla.
Nice. I got a detox tonic in here. For those of you, a great way to start your morning if you want to give your liver a boost. Hot water and lemon. Or hot water and apple cider vinegar. You know, that's my go-to in the morning. Honestly, like, I know people love their coffee because it makes them go to the bathroom. If you start to obviously hopefully eliminate this caffeine and this extra, you know, adrenaline that basically shocks your body and peaks your cortisol, doing a hot water and lemon or a hot water and ACV is like, it's amazing, not only for the body, but it also gets things moving as well. So
what I recently started doing, I have a big, 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, and I put a cinnamon stick in there, as well as a little bit of turmeric, and one more thing I forgot. Sorry, cinnamon, turmeric, whatever. Started off with that, and I take a tablespoon and I put it in my hot water in the morning as well, and that's really great. Clove, that's what it is. Clove and cinnamon and turmeric, and then it basically just marinates in the apple cider vinegar, so then you get that herbal infusion in the morning.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. So next, I wanted to talk about food sensitivities and also how to test for them. So elimination diet is one that you can do, and it is lengthy. It's 21 days, and then you're gonna have to introduce one food at a time and see how you feel. And there are 2 other kind of shortcut ways that you can test at home. And so the first one is from the GAPS protocol, Dr. Natasha Campbell. And this one is recommended to do with any kind of dairy and egg product. Basically, the night before, you take the item in question, say it's sour cream, and you put it on your wrist on the inside here and leave it and let it dry and go to sleep. And if you wake up in the morning and you have a red itchy patch, that shows you that you actually have an allergy. And you can do this with raw egg, raw yolks. And apparently, I haven't done the whole spectrum of things you can do. You can even take nuts and like chew it up in your saliva and make it mushy and then leave that to dry. So anything that's you have in question, you can try it on the inside of your wrists. Mm-hmm.
And the second is the pulse test. So if you guys are eating something, and this again is why, so on my website, I have a lot of simple recipes, and lately I'm trying to do even more simple, because this is how you can really begin to identify. If you have, I love amazing salads that have all the things inside.
Mm-mm. Oh, looks like we froze up here.
Are we there?
Yeah, we froze up for a minute.
Okay. Did you catch the check your pulse before? Eat your simple food. Check your pulse about 30 minutes after. Is that about the right time? I think is what I read.
Just in case, I lost you at making salads with a whole bunch of things.
Making salads. Okay. So one of the reasons why going elimination is really important is because if you have simple foods, then you're able to understand what your body is reacting to. So for the pulse test, you check your pulse. You can check it under your next to your throat, your jugular vein here, or you can check it on your wrist. Get a pulse rate. Eat your simple foods, because if you have that amazing salad, you're not going to know what it is that's maybe causing the allergy. Then about 30 minutes after, you check your pulse again. And I just want to double check it is 30 minutes. No? Is that what you, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 30 minutes after, check your pulse again. If you have an increase in heart rate, then that's an option or an opportunity telling you that your body is kind of having an elevated heart rate, which means that it's having to fight or flight again, and it's causing inflammation. So of course, you might not just be eating a single sweet potato for, your meal and then checking after every food. But if you're only doing 3 things, it's like, okay, salmon, Swiss chard, and sweet potato. One of those things I'm allergic to. Great, I'll try again. I'll eliminate one of the things and I'll try the other 2 later. And that's a great way to check as well.
Yeah. You can try foods one by one if you want as well. And there's actually a really great app by Dave Asprey, the Bulletproof Food Detective. And it uses your iPhone camera to check your pulse and records it for you. Then you type in what you're eating, and the alarm goes off 30 minutes later, and it goes off an hour later and an hour and a half later. It checks for 2 hours to really see, how long this reaction happened. And then it'll then document you like, okay, this is what you ate, this is what you're allergic to, and it saves your meals. So it's a really great app. It's free. It works, I think, both for Samsung and iPhones. And I use that app actually because I was a little afraid one time. I'm like, maybe I should try eliminating eggs. I love eggs so much that I'm like, maybe I do have an intolerance, because a lot of the times we crave the foods we're allergic to because we release adrenaline during that immune response. So a lot of times we can kind of be in a disillusioned, this food just makes me feel so good, when I eat it, and it gives me so much energy. But then you forget that energy sometimes can overshadow the crap you feel, like that sugar rush, that sugar crash, or that immune system crash you feel after. So check even your favorite foods, the foods that you crave the most, and just in case, because you don't want to be eating that all the time.
Yeah. And then the last one, something that I do a lot, I recommend a lot in my practice, especially with people who are dealing with a lot of really severe problems, like doing this whole guess and check thing. I really like it because it really helps me connect more to my body. And as Aga was saying before, really listening to the subtle messages that your body is always sending you. And if you're being this aware of your body, believe me, you're probably gonna find out things that you didn't want to find out, because you're gonna be like, oh my God, I thought that I knew this and it was something completely different. But if you're struggling with any kind of severe symptoms, any kind of, autoimmune disease or anything, I highly, highly, highly recommend just getting a food sensitivities test done. And we were talking about a couple different companies that you can use, and Cyrex was one of them, as well as Great Plains. And it's a really simple test. You can get your healthcare practitioner to look it over for you, but it's just a prick of the finger. So you prick the finger, you put your sample on this sheet, they'll mail you the sheet, they'll mail you the thing to prick your finger, and then you send it back into them, and you'll have your test results within about a week. The test is a bit expensive, but if you don't want to do this guessing and checking game, and you don't want to go through this whole time, you get your lab results. They test over about 100 different foods for food sensitivities. And then like, I'm really allergic to these foods. I need to stay away from them completely. And I'm kind of allergic to these foods. And you will be surprised. Like, one of my friends just got hers done the other day, and she's allergic to ginger and turmeric. Ginger and turmeric, like 2 of the things that are like supposed to be amazing for you. She's just absolutely, that's in her reds. So this is, again, bio-individuality.
I had a client who couldn't eat cucumbers. It's just because a food is healthy doesn't mean it's good for you.
Absolutely.
And one thing I also wanted to mention is a whole carb scare with Candida as well. You know, the rice, sweet potatoes, quinoa, buckwheat, you know, these are really good gluten-free carbohydrates that you can introduce later. I would say later, once you've restored leaky gut, once you've made sure that you have good healthy gut flora in your gut microbiome, so you're feeding the good bacteria with the starches. But also, we each in our DNA have a predisposition of which carbohydrates fuel us better and how we can manage our blood sugar, because blood sugar is so important. We don't want to have elevated blood sugar, because again, that causes too much inflammation in the arteries and the blood veins, and that's when then we get the high cholesterol. And you know, it's food, cholesterol and saturated fats do not cause high cholesterol in the body. It's too much sugar, and too much sugar in our blood. And so if you are familiar with Rob Wolf, he just wrote a really great book called Wired to Eat. And in there, he explains of how to test your bio-individuality, of how to test for your carbs. Because carbs are not evil, you know, especially if you're active. Also, I know females some need a little bit more carbohydrate, maybe a sweet potato in the evenings, just to help balance things out. And basically what you do is you take your blood, a little sample, you know, with just a little glucometer, and check where you're at. You know, 80 is about where you want to be, 100 is pre-diabetes, 100 is pre-diabetes, 110 is pre-diabetes, 120 is diabetes. So you want to be like in the 80 to 100 realm. And so you check beforehand, and then you eat, you know, a plate of the carbs that you're having questions. So it could be beans or rice or black rice and lentils. And then you check again 30 minutes later what your blood sugar is, and then again an hour later, and then another an hour and a half later, and you see how quickly your body can handle those sugars. And it's interesting because in his test, him and his wife have both done these tests together. And she is like, her carb load she is so tolerant. She could have a pile of lentils and a potato and be fine and feel like a rock star. Whereas he will have a bite of a potato and be like out for a week. So again, this is really great to test your blood sugar levels and your ability to handle healthy starches and healthy carbohydrates.
Yes, good tip. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I really like to think about genetics, like where did my people come from? I'm Polish, so we ate a lot of potatoes. So is my body more comfortable with potatoes, or does it have a potato overload, and would I rather eat rice? Right? It's like which way did it go?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I think as far as the topics that we've covered so far, it all sounds pretty good. I feel like it's a lot of information. I know that the food journey is so incredibly complex, and even as a nutritionist, you know, like the thing is as science evolves, people ask me, why is it so confusing? Why is it, okay, coconut oil is terrible for you now, and before it was amazing? And it's like, number one, the industries are involved in a lot of what we hear and what we see. And if you're reading, you know, you always have to check your sources. You always have to check, did a doctor write this? Who funded the study? Like, where is it coming from? What website is it on? Like, there's so many people. You can put anything on the internet nowadays, you know, and a lot of times it's for our own profits or our own gaining versus for actually like what's real and what people need. So I don't know, I just like kind of want to encourage people, because I know this is a lot of information. Just like bio-individuality, choose what resonates with you. Don't try to do everything at once. I'm that type of person. I'm the type of person that's like, give it all to me, I want to do it all. And then it's like you just burn out because it's too much, you know. But like having all of these different resources, the glucometer, the skin sensitivity test, the testing, the elimination diet, like you have so many different options. Choose the one that works with you and works with your schedule, because if you're trying to take on something and it's just way too overwhelming and you're already stressed out, like that's not going to help you in the healing process, because inflammation is also rooted in stress. And you can eat the healthiest diet in the world, but if you are mentally and emotionally taxed, like you will not be able to fully process all of that.
Yes, thank you for going into the segue of bringing in the mindfulness and the emotion behind everything we do. If you're going to eat something and you're angry, or you're like, oh, this is so unhealthy, or a lot of what happens on the Candida diet is, we'll cheat. We'll go out and get sushi and we're like, oh, rice, this is so bad for me. Or I really shouldn't. And it's like a joke, like, I'm so bad. And you just kind of you're eating it with this kind of loathing. Don't eat like that. Just, sit there, have gratitude. I'm going to eat this food. I'm going to love it. It's going to fuel me. Thank you so much that I have this food on my plate. Put it in your mouth. Take that moment to feel the texture. What does a lot of times when you're eating, say like dark chocolate, what is the sensation going on in my jaw that's happening from this chocolate? It makes me want to like clench and I just want to swallow it right away. Don't sit there with that food. What does the different herbs for me? I've been cooking with cardamom lately and coriander. What does coriander feel like? What sensations are coming up? Is it, for me, coriander opens up the heart and is uplifting. When I eat something else, it's a grounding feeling. What is going on? And be thankful for those sensations and those emotions and that connection with your food, rather than sitting there, guilty or shoving it in your mouth quickly to get on with your day. Make your meals a little ceremony each time, and give thanks, give gratitude, and this changes so much in your body. It instantly will turn you into rest and digest, so you can actually begin to digest your food. You release the saliva, and that's the first enzymes to digest the carbohydrates. You begin to release stomach acid. Just the smell, the aroma. When you're cooking, use like a shit ton of herbs. You should be able to smell your meal like across the house, rosemary and thyme, and just smelling that food. That's part of digestion. It tells your brain to release the stomach acid. You then release the pancreatic enzymes, and everything just starts to lubricate itself and prepare for the meal.
Absolutely. That's something that I think is really important in my practice. I see a lot of, I'm a nutritional therapist, because what I work with people on is people don't realize the emotional connection we have to food. And, let's take, for example, you're hungry, right? So you go into the fridge, you open up the fridge and you're scanning the fridge and you go for, this is my go-to food, the peanut butter, right? I'm like, oh, I go for the peanut butter, and it's like, why am I really that hungry? Like, why am I going for the peanut butter versus the carrot or versus the broccoli or versus the whatever? And it's like, we have these comforts and these habits, and food is comforting. And oftentimes we eat because we're bored or because we have something on our mind or because we're stressed out, and we are designed to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And food is so often pleasurable, and it should be. But it's about being aware of, why are you choosing to reach for these foods? What am I trying to escape? And instead of just going for something that you've always gone for, which is the chocolate cake when you're upset, or the wine, or the whatever it is, we all have our vices, just choosing to be aware of the sensations that are happening. And, we practice this a lot in yoga. It's like, when you're in a yoga posture and you're feeling a lot of intensity, you don't run away. You don't say, oh, this is hard, I'm out. Sorry, guys, you have fun. Like, you sit with that and you feel that, and you allow yourself to explore that sensation wherever it is in your body or your mind. Because a lot of times the resistance we have to whatever's happening right now is a mental resistance. So whenever you're, I always work, one of the techniques that I use in mindfulness, helping people really to connect to what is this serving me, is before you eat anything, there's two things. Number one, just put your hands above your food and just take a few breaths and just breathe into what you're eating right now, and just see if it's really resonating with you and if it's really what you want. And sometimes you'll be like, oh, cake, yes, I can't wait. And then you sit there and you're about to look at it and you're like, oh my God, I know this is going to be terrible and I'm going to feel really bad, and it's like, that's like, then that's a straight, if you're having those thoughts, and it's not the guilty thoughts of like, oh, this is so good, but I shouldn't be doing this. It's the thoughts of like, I know that this is really going to hurt. Why would you do that to yourself? Be mindful of like, are my actions matching my intentions? Like, if my intention is to really connect to my body and really give it the best that it can be and to feel amazing, then I need to make sure that all of my actions are aligned with that intention. And another thing that you can do is, I have my clients, it's something called abdominal breathing. And so a lot of times we don't know that we're bloated And there's a really great technique that you can use is send your breath all the way down into your belly. And instead of breathing from your chest, your upper chest, or your deepest part of your lungs, move your breath into your belly and try to expand your belly as wide as you can. And then on your exhale, draw the navel to the spine and really feel everything pull up and in. And see if you can feel all of your abdominal wall connect to you. And then, like, once you're done breathing and connecting to your center, asking yourself, do I need this food? Do I want this food? Is this serving me? And then a great check is after, again, about 30 minutes after you're eating, do the breathing technique again. And if you cannot connect your belly towards your spine, you've either eaten too much or you're bloated and you're allergic to that food. And that's another really kind of good mindfulness technique, just to bring awareness to where you're at and what you're doing, and if your actions are matching your intentions. I
really like that. And what really helped me understand, I like to understand the science behind something, right? It's like, okay, I get this on, an emotional, spiritual level, but what's the science behind this? Why does it work? And the science behind it is you have a vagus nerve, and it connects your gut brain to your brain, and it runs down. It's actually a cranial nerve through the back of your head, through the esophagus, through the ears, the tongue, down here into the diaphragm, and then it branches out and spreads through your entire gut, your intestinal tract. And your brain and your gut, they're constantly sending information to each other. Actually, the gut sends more information up to the brain to tell it what's going on. They're sharing neurotransmitters. It's a whole nervous system. And when we're breathing through the top portion of our lungs, so if you just tune into how are you breathing right now? What's the quality of my breath? Oh, it's really shallow and up here. And the nervous system that's up here is a sympathetic nervous system. That's fight or flight. Have you ever noticed if you have anxiety, it's always going to be a short breath. It's always that panicky, like I need a bag, and that bag is used to help you, if you ever had that panic attack, to blow it up, is to deepen your breath. And what happens when you start to deepen your breath, you pull the breath in and use the diaphragm, and the nerves that are down here are connected to your parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. And as soon as you take a big, deep belly breath, you're activating that nervous system, and you switch. You can literally switch your state of being from fight or flight. I have to fight. The world is against me. I have taxes. I have a mortgage. I don't know what I'm doing. I just need to protect myself always from life that has become this saber-toothed tiger all the time, right? You're not going to be focusing on anything. You're like, screw this. I don't want to be mindful. I need to survive. But as soon as you drop down into your heart, all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I don't need to fight. Everything is perfect. I'm fine. I'm safe. I have my home. And then from there, you can be more mindful. That's where moments of inspiration and creativity and love happen organically. You don't have to fight for those feelings. So really, really powerful technique to drop down. It just takes 1, 2, 3 breaths, and you're going to be there.
Absolutely. Love it.
And one more, when you were talking, you had something popped into my head, but I forgot.
It'll come back.
Oh, I remember. So you had that so with the deep belly breathing, when you're about to reach for something, before you even have your meal, before you go open that fridge, say you're feeling anxious or bored or angry, a lot of times we don't address that emotion. We like to, like you said, go away from the discomfort. We want to find something. We love to pacify ourselves. We've been pacifying our emotions our entire life. We do not have an outlet to explore these emotions. It's very natural. It's a very human thing to be emotional. But now what happens, I'm feeling sad or angry, I go to the psychiatrist and, oh, you're sad. Okay, here's a prescription, right? Rather than, well, what's going on? Let's explore these emotions. It's normal to feel. It's normal to grieve. We need to tune in all the time, but we suppress. And so this is something that I started doing. I just sit with myself 3 times a day for 10 minutes. I take a deep breath, I exhale, close my eyes, and I ask myself, what emotion am I feeling right now? And you just wait. and something might trickle up, oh, I'm feeling sad. Okay, sit with that sadness, breathe. You wait about 15 breaths. Take as much time in that emotion to just really sit and acknowledge it. And then ask yourself again, what emotion am I feeling right now? And you'll notice, because you've addressed that previous emotion, your next emotion will be different. It'll be, oh, well, actually now I'm feeling, like kind of excited, or now I'm feeling anxious. Okay, so sit in that anxiety. Then what am I feeling now? What emotion am I feeling now? And then you'll just, after asking yourself a few times about what you're feeling, acknowledging, expressing, releasing, and all of a sudden you're sitting there and you get a nice, easy baseline. I'm not angry, I'm not sad, I'm not happy, I just am. And then all of a sudden your cravings go away. You have nothing to pacify, and you're like, I'm actually okay. I can go on with my day.
Aho to that. I'm gonna try that today.
And it's especially powerful to do when you are, super emotional, but also really powerful to do when you're really happy. We forget to tune into ourselves when in those bright moments too. Like, what is this feeling I'm feeling right now? It's like, where does it sit in my body? How does it make me feel? So it's a very important part, especially when we're detoxing. I'm doing this a lot during the detox, because for me, with toxins also come out emotions. It's also stored in our fat tissues. We have I don't know how to explain this, but I like to see things physically and spiritually and emotionally. So every time we hold on to trauma, our issues are stored in our tissues. And every time where do our toxins store? In our fat. And what is fat used for? A lot of times weight gain. Fat is used as cushioning to protect us. So if we feel threatened from a traumatic past event, we will begin to incorporate habits in our lifestyle to create fat, also to protect ourselves, to cushion ourselves from the outside world, because we want to protect ourselves. And then when we get big into detox, sure, all the heavy metals and the toxins come out as soon as we begin to lose fat, and the emotions ride up out of the body on kind of like on a boat as well with those toxins. So then we can begin to feel these past emotional traumas, and we become very emotional, become very depressed, become anxious, become fearful. And it's a very deep process of what's going on in the subconscious mind, in the subtle body, the emotional body, but also a physical body, partnered with the physical detox. So during a detox, it's super important to address the emotions and be present with the emotions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's something that is not often. I have a detox not diet program, and that's something that a lot of people don't really bring awareness to, is that exactly what you said. Like, it's mind, body, spirit. It's all connected. There's so much that goes on, and when you're feeling these things, it's okay to feel those things, and to know that, like, you're getting rid of all this shit, mental, physical, emotional, all of it. It's coming out, and it's let it come out, feel it. If it takes you back to past traumas or to past experiences, then know that this is just a part of the human experience. It's sensational. And it's only when the mind tries to define the sensation that we become trapped and limited in our own limited perspective of what is truth or what is reality. And therefore we're no longer serving ourselves from our ultimate potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, in the end, we want to put our best foot forward. We want to be the best versions of ourselves. And to do that, we have to also look into the shadow self, right? And we like to, again, move away from pain, move away from the shadow, only love and light, right? But we have so much baggage, we have so much garbage behind us that, it doesn't go away by not looking at it. And a lot of it, my belief is that every single disease and condition in the body is attached to an emotional event, an emotional trauma. If you remember that trauma or not is not important, because the subconscious mind remembers every single moment. It can process a million things at once. I'm only aware of 10 things at once, but we have this computer in our brain constantly pulling information in. And up until we're 7, we are like a sponge, just absorbing every single thing around us. We're observing our parents, how they react to things, their belief systems. They're unconsciously teaching us about how the rules of this game, of how the world works. Then we take on their beliefs as our beliefs. A lot of these things like you have to work hard for your money, or you'll never be happy, or just really contorted ideas about reality that are not real. And then we have these belief systems in our mind constantly, or these traumas, even being 2 or 3 and then seeing your parents fight, seeing family abuse, that gets stored in your tissues. And all of a sudden you have these predisposition emotional body that makes you angry and reactive, and you have trouble in your relationships. So if this stuff is not addressed, your body will begin to tell you in symptoms, hey, you're not addressing this emotional issue that's stuck here, or it's stuck here. You're not speaking your truth. So what happens? Strep throat, infections constantly. That was a big thing for me. Not speaking my truth. So everything is here.
Absolutely. Yes, I love it. Speak
Yeah.
my language.
And so I would encourage you to look at your symptoms, yes, on a physical level, leaky gut, of course, things come into the bloodstream, and you can manifest differently as different conditions. But I believe that they manifest in our weakest links, where we are holding that emotional trauma. So that's why for me it's gut issues and sinus issues here. This is where I'm at my weakest, because I'm holding emotions, because I'm holding trauma. For other people, it's skin, or it's in their feet, and sometimes people have the strangest symptoms, and that's why doctors just have no idea anymore, right? They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I think we've had 4 viewers. If you guys want to chat, enter a comment, a question, feel free. I can see the comments here on the right. Would love to hear from you guys. Mm-hmm. If not, we can continue geeking out. We are almost wrapped up. Wow, we talked for almost an hour now. 8 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, if you guys are interested in Amanda and seeing more of Amanda and her work, let us know where we can find you. What are you up to?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited because all of this is really close to me and my heart. I think that a lot of times nutritionists and these people who are on this, whether it be a spiritual path or a connected to bodies path, we have these misconceptions that these people are perfect, and they look perfect and they eat perfect, and they just live in this great world, and I'm so far away from that. And that is not my journey. I'll tell you that right now. I had been studying, nutrition in various different aspects, both holistic and traditional, for the last 6 years, and I started to develop my own issues, gut-based issues. It manifested in many different ways. I got dengue, and then I had a parasite, and then I had leaky gut, and then that manifested on my skin as dermatitis, and then I healed all of that, but I didn't get to the root cause, which was Candida, and now I'm on that journey as well. But one thing, when there's all of this rain and storm, what I did come up with was something called Detox Not Diet. And so this is a new program that I am just about to release applications for, which is going to start in September. But before that, I haven't even announced this to my Facebook group yet, is I'm doing a beta run. So if any of this stuff is something that you're like, yes, I want to understand myself better, on a mental, physical, and emotional level, my 21-day, it's a 21-day detox program. It basically eliminates the top allergen foods. It works on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. So you get a book, or a guide rather. There's days of detox where you're just juicing and bone brothing and rehabilitating the gut. There's meditations included. I will show up in your inbox and kind of work you through it, because it's an emotional journey, you guys. Like, I wouldn't, she's Aga, all the things she said about all of the emotions and things that are coming up, like, it can be hard and it can feel defeating and all of these things. So I've created this program, which is based upon what I've gone through, because I want to help you, I want to help you guys, like, figure out yourself and this world of nutrition as easy as possible. So if you guys are interested, I will leave a link to that part where you can be part of the beta tester, which is going to get a significant discount on the package of helping you understand your own bio-individuality. So that's something that I've got. And I also have a Facebook group as well. Aga's in there. We post great recipes and we ask questions, and you guys are more than welcome to join that. I'd love to expand our circle. So those are two of the best resources I have right now that I'd love to invite you guys on.
Mm-hmm. And I think when we were talking yesterday, you have a SoundCloud with like meditations.
Yeah, good point. Yes. So if you guys are new to meditation and you want to get more into it, I have a bunch of different free meditations, anything that talks about the chakras or beginners meditations that are all listed on my SoundCloud, and I'll link that as well. And if you're interested in yoga, I have, when I was living in India, this is actually how we met, was in India. I have a new released yoga and nutrition program. So it's online. It's 30 days, and it just walks you through the basics of nutrition, which right now you probably already have the basics covered. And then it's 20 minutes of yoga a day, which really helps to calm the sympathetic nervous system, as well as it's yoga for weight loss. Now, anybody can take it. It just means that it's challenging. It's basic posture, so you're not going to be doing, crazy handstands or, inversions. I don't think I inverted once. But you're really bringing awareness and isolating muscles and becoming fully present with all sensations in your body. And it's very challenging and very, very awesome. I can highly recommend it. It's like, I think $29. It's on sale right now. So it's way cheaper than a yoga membership at a gym, and you can take it anytime you want and you have it for a lifetime. So that's something else if you guys are interested in the mindfulness or the yoga part.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for joining me and geeking out today, Amanda. And thank you for you guys for joining and watching. And I'll make sure that Amanda posts everything she mentioned in the comments in the YouTube video, link below. And also I'll edit them into underneath like the description in the YouTube video so that they're not lost as people start commenting.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Thank you so much. I couldn't be more happy to be here. Aga, thank you for inviting me. And I really do believe in every single person's health journey and their journey to vitality, because like I said, I thought I felt great 2 years ago. I had no idea I could feel this good mentally, physically, emotionally. And I have no doubt that just like the people that Aga and I have worked with personally, you guys are already on the path. You guys are there, and we're here to support you in whatever way we can. So thank you. Thank you for committing to self, as I like to say.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to wrap up the key takeaways of this talk, just in case, because we did talk for a long time. Sometimes you forget, is try an elimination diet. Remove the top allergens, which are gluten, dairy, soy, corn, eggs, and sugar, of course. And then also test for food sensitivities, either through the elimination diet is great. You could also fast track with the pulse test or Dr. Natasha's sensitivity test. I can also post a link below in the YouTube video of a blog post that I did where it talks you through, exactly how to do those tests. Also Cyrix Labs if you want to actually get an official test done. And the last one was mindfulness. Incorporate some of these mindfulness techniques of breathing before your meals, checking in with yourself, what emotion am I feeling right now, and be present with yourself. Continue to listen, but put your attention inwards to listen to how your body reacts to food, because no one out there can tell you what to eat. They can give you ideas, they can give you guidelines. Even this whole Candida cleanser group about the gaps, I'm giving you what worked for me. I'm giving you what's working for the people I'm working with. But if it's not working, if something inside you says this is wrong, I don't feel good, listen to that gut instinct. Because even something small like bone broth, some people have a histamine reaction, so they can't eat bone broth. They have to eat meat stock. So always find ways how to fine tune to make it work for you. If you can't eat raw vegetables, steam your vegetables. There's always something you can do to adjust it to your body, because this is your journey. No one can do it for you. And we're just here as your guides. I like to describe it like we're in a car going from A to B. I'm holding the map, but you're in the driver's seat. And yeah, we're just here to support you, make this as pleasant and as joyful as possible.
I hope. Yes.
All right, so thanks for joining. Thank you, Amanda, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.